selamat pagi. Ini untuk proses wawancaranya kita rekaman ya. Is that okay? Oh, oke. Jadi pertama kita perkenalan dulu kali ya. Nama aku Serafime Kusuma, tapi bisa dipanggilnya Vera. Teman-teman,
Ya, halo aku Nicole. Halo, aku Tirza.
Halo, aku Valen.
yang lain?
Halo,
Kenneth?
aku Kenneth.
Halo, aku Andrea.
Oke. Jadi untuk wawancara ini topiknya itu mengenai sexual maturity ya. Kita akan tanya pertanyaan di 3 topik. Yang pertama itu mengenai love, kedua itu mengenai dating, yang ketiga itu mengenai seks ya. Apakah ada pertanyaan sebelum kita mulai wawancaranya? Enggak ya? Tapi mau dipanggil apa ya? Ci, Kak, atau apa?
Boleh panggil Cikisha aja.
Ciki. Oke. Kita mulai ya wawancaranya.
Oke.
Ayo.
Saya nanya, apa itu cinta menurut pandangan Anda?
Oke. Menurut Cici, pandangan cinta itu menurut pandangan Christian perspective, karena Cici itu orang Christian, jadi Cici believe that pandangan love it's through the Christian perspective. Jadi kalau kita go back to Bible, boleh ya Cici ngomong bahasa Inggris, soalnya kadang-kadang Cici suka pakai bahasa Indonesia. Jadi kalau cinta in the Bible itu kita ada di 1 Korintian 13 ayat 4-8a. Itu berkata, love is patient and kind. Love doesn't envy or boast. It does not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It's not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at a wrongdoing, but rejoice within the truth. Jadi again, topik mungkin pertanyaan cinta mungkin berbeda karena translation in Bible buat love itu kasih, tapi sebelum ada cinta kita harus ada kasih. Jadi that's the baseline I think menurut Cici. Dan juga kalau Cici berpikir untuk cinta, that mean in the context of getting into serious relationship, kayak marriage or things like that. Then I would also look at another verse in the Bible that says kind of like before you get into marriage, kamu mau cari pasangan yang seimbang, itu di 2 Korintian 6 ayat 14. Jadi ya.
So are you answering from the perspective of the Bible?
Yes.
Then how do you think about love from yourself?
How do you think about love for myself?
Yeah.
In romantic relationship love, or because there's different type of love.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the romantic relationship kind of love.
Romantic relationship, okay. Menurut Cici, pandangan untuk cinta itu harus ada healthy boundaries, and cinta itu kan ada attraction, kayak pandangan at the first sight, or there's also kind of like commitment being in a relationship, like both parties.
Pertanyaan selanjutnya, Andrea.
Apa yang dapat membedakan cinta, pertemanan, dan hawa nafsu?
Okay, yeah, this is a good question. Yang membedakan cinta, pertemanan, dan hawa nafsu itu different, bagaimana ada limitnya, yang membedakan apa itu romantic relationship, apa itu pertemanan, apa itu hawa nafsu. Kalau menurut Cici, let's break it down with hawa nafsu. Kalau hawa nafsu, Cici berpikir seperti pemikiran yang impulsif, pemikiran yang tidak dipikir lebih lanjut, yang biasanya tuh quick gitu loh. Kayak misalnya kamu berpikir, oh apa ya, ini orang cantik, kayak misalnya terlalu cantik, mungkin ini orang itu good in bed kind of thing, or good in having sex or something like that. Itu seperti hawa nafsu. Kalau yang kalau pertemanan itu seperti relationship yang membutuhkan affection, mutual affections tetap, tapi kita kind of share like common belief or value. There's involved in kind of like intimacy, but it's not romantic relationship. That kind of intimacy, romantic intimacy. And also there's trust as in a friendship. And yang membedakan cinta itu involves affection again, but it's a little bit deeper affection. Kalau kita melihat cinta dalam hubungan seks juga itu lebih intim kan, dan juga ada emotional and physical closeness into that. And there's also like trust and yeah, and we might have like, I guess dalam cinta kita juga sharing some common belief and values, but it's berbeda dari pertemanan.
Oke, jadi yang membedakan antara cinta, pertemanan, dan nafsu itu antara batasan ya. Kalau cinta itu lebih intim. Oke, pertanyaan selanjutnya, bagaimana kita bisa menyadari dan yakin bahwa kita sedang jatuh cinta?
Oke, kalau untuk menyadari kalau kita tuh lagi jatuh cinta, kita mungkin often find ourselves kind of like being attracted to like the opposite gender. For example, oh, this guy is so handsome, like just based on appearance, or it could be attraction to emotional level, like to personality, or attraction to like just being in a physically closeness kind of thing. And kamu juga mungkin find yourself thinking about the person, like constantly just thinking about it, like when you're in class, you think about it when you're talking with your friends. Dan kalau kamu tuh lagi jatuh cinta, biasanya hormon yang membuat happy dalam body kita kayak dopamine or neurofamine. I don't know if you guys already learned about this in biology. I don't know. Have you guys hear about it?
We just learned it just now in psychology class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you just learned it. Okay, that's good. So itu hormon yang biasanya tuh lebih naik kalau kamu tuh lagi attracted to somebody or kamu tuh lagi jatuh cinta. Dan I think kalau kamu lagi jatuh cinta juga mungkin kamu feel safe untuk berbicara atau sharing your personal information to the other person, and kamu feel excitement, like mau ketemu nih orang tuh kayaknya gimana gitu loh, deg-degan gitu loh, pengen bakalan happy gitu loh, spend time with them. Terus kamu mau tahu orang ini tuh lebih lagi gitu.
Oke, jadi kita bisa menyadari bahwa kita lagi sedang jatuh cinta saat kita sedang kayak lebih tertarik sama nih orang, atau saat secara emosi dan lain sebagainya. Pertanyaan terakhir dalam love. Oke, jadi kan dalam toxic relationship atau abusive relationship, kebanyakan pelaku ketika ditanya apa alasan dia untuk melakukan tindakan kekerasan adalah karena dia cinta atau karena dia peduli sama korbannya. Nah, dalam itu ada nggak sih batasan atau kayak tindakan yang benar atau salah dalam mengekspresikan cinta kita kepada seseorang? Kalau ada, apa aja?
Okay, jadi apa yang Cici understand dari this question in term of toxic relationship, apakah sih tindakan yang benar dan salah mengenai toxic relationship? Ya nggak?
It's more of a context about, is there a right and wrong way to express your love to somebody? Because somebody might misunderstand that.
Okay. there is kind of like a right or wrong way to love somebody. Okay.
Yes.
I think kalau menurut Cici, again, semua orang mempunyai berbeda definisi untuk cinta, untuk I guess bagaimana mencintai somebody else. Tapi kalau menurut Cici, of course ada yang membedakan benar dan salah karena berbeda batasan. Again, bagaimana kita ada yang bagaimana kita mencintai dengan yang benar dan yang salah yang lebih menuju toxic relationship. Jadi kalau menurut Cici, definisi cinta yang benar itu again, go back to the Bible again, how like kita tuh harus kayak yang tadi verse in 1 Corinthians 13 at 4 to 8 itu definisi cinta in the beginning. Dan mencintai kayak seperti Cici udah mention like earlier, apa sih revolve like bagaimana pas lagi kita jatuh cinta, kita harus feel safe. Itu bagaimana kita mencintai seseorang, kita juga harus feel safe in that sense. Udah gitu, I think tindakan yang benar untuk mendefinisikan cinta juga I think being kind of like open in communication with the other person. Also kind of like, for example, if there's like consent into like from both party, whatever that you want to do in your relationship, that's kind of like setting the boundaries again. What are you comfortable with and what is the other comfortable with, and you kind of communicate that in that sense. And tindakan yang salah untuk mendefinisikan cinta atau melakukan atau mencintai seseorang, is that right? Okay. Mungkin kalau I guess in the context of toxic relationship itu kalau the other person is being aggressive, that might be hurtful, not giving consent. Terus mungkin juga kind of a sense of control in that relationship that is over kind of like what is, like a normal level, like over controlling. Do you get what I mean? Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next topic, which is about dating. So the first question is, do you think there is a right age to start a relationship?
The right age. Okay. This is a big question about right or not right. It's really a big controversial. Tapi kita mau, karena kita lagi belajar psikologi kan semuanya, jadi kita harus go back how, I guess, bagaimana sih stages of development in human or in a child, okay? So biasanya there's, I don't know if you guys already learned about different stages with formal operation stage or anything. Have you guys heard about that yet?
Can you go into detail? Well, personally, I never heard of it before, but maybe you could
Okay.
explain it a bit.
Okay, yeah. So later, if you guys learn more about psychology, you will hear about the stages of I guess human development and stages of how your brain functions. Okay, give me 1 second. So normally, okay, I write things down, but I can't even read my writing. Okay, so there is like different stages in life, for example, from birth to like 3 years old, that you're just kind of like in that stages. You're still a baby. You're still learning about the need when you cry, whether your parents or your caregiver kind of tend to your needs. That's the stages like you learn about survival, or you learn about the world, if the world is safe or not. And let me just make it simple for you guys. I know you guys haven't heard about this. Okay, and then when you are a toddler, like I guess age 3 to 7, you are learning to kind of like function with your body, like you learning how to crawl, you learning how to walk, you learning about how to talk or communicate your needs, not just cry. Because as a baby, you just learn cry. And then you know how like baby, you sometimes you have to like learn by your experience if the baby cries for hungry, or the baby cry for because they're sleepy, or they cry for they need to change their diapers if like they just poop or they pee or whatever, right? But in stages of 3 to 7, you learn how to like how you go to the bathroom, right? Like you say, "Mommy, I want to go to WC," right? I want to go poop, or I want to go pee, or something like that. You communicate that. And then the stages from like 7 to like 11, that's where you kind of learning about in school how you socialize with other children, how you learning about like what is number is, right? And you're learning about just like a basic stuff in terms of like words, or like more kind of like words, but you're just understanding like all the basic stuff. And then in stages of like 11 to like adulthood, that's where you kind of learn how you operate things in kind of like more system. As a system in society, there's system within system, right? There's a bigger system like government, but also there's school system, right? So you're learning how to be a student in that sense. You're learning about concept about I guess like a bigger concept that is abstract that you understand in that sense, because your brain already developing. And so I guess what is Chichi is trying to say, I guess in that age of 11 to adulthood, 11 plus, that's the stages where you understand what is the context of love. You're learning from people, or you learn from your parents or people around you what is love, or what is a theory mean, or things like abstract. You kind of consider what possibility, like you think more kind of thing. Then you think when you're like a toddler, you just cry. Like if some other kid tried to pull your toy, you cry. You're like, "Mama, this other kid tried to pull your toy." But if you're like 11, if that happened, you communicate, "Oh, do you want to share your toy with me?" or something like that. You kind of like be able to communicate in that sense. So your brain already developed in that sense to like learn about abstract ideas, especially about love, right? Since we're talking about love and dating, that concept, because there's boundaries and limitations that they need to know about this abstract concept. And yeah, so I think the minimum age untuk kita berpacaran at least is 11. But however, let's talk about brain, okay? For girls, your brain reach the maximum of size of the brain at age 11. And for boys, they reach the biggest size of your brain is at 14. But it doesn't mean that there's different kind of like maturity level or anything. It's just like they just take a little bit longer, you know? That's why like sometimes girls grow taller at 11, and then boys kind of like went to like puberty like a little bit later, like 14, 15, you know. Yeah, so I think even like in general, I think the minimum age is like 11 because they start to understand the concept. But again, it takes time because, when you learn about numbers in the beginning, you're like, okay, what is number one? What is number two? And what is number three? But then you later about how to add one to like three. What is like two plus three equal to? You learn it. So at age 11, you just began to learning about that, and understand more kind of thing. And interesting fact, actually, even though like the size of the brain, it's kind of reach a maximum for girls at 11 and boys at 14, your brain's still developing until you are 25 or late 20s. So you're still developing even until like you're 25, 27. So yeah, I think that's what I think about that untuk berpacaran.
So in conclusion, it depends on the stage of growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to the next question, but we are running out of time here, so we need to change meeting soon. Are you okay with that? Okay, so we can
Yeah,
leave
that's fine.
this one first, and then we'll change to another one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You can leave now, by the way. Okay, so the next question for dating is about what is your opinion or what do you think about a healthy relationship?
Okay, I think we kind of already touched about what is kind of healthy relationship and what is like a toxic relationship at the beginning, when we talk about cinta. I think again, for me, apa itu healthy relationship? Again, it's important for you to feel safe in that relationship. There's also kind of like honesty, trust, respect, and again, open communication is very big. And also like willingness to make an effort and kind of like compromise if like, again, it's two different people with two different how like they think and maybe their behavior or like how they live their lives. So again, there might be like some conflict, which is normal. So it's just very important for you, like who are in the relationship, to be able to like communicate what is this differences and how do you work towards that together.
Okay. The third question is, apa penyebab utama sebuah toxic relationship dapat terjadi menurut Cici?
Okay, kalau menurut Cici, dari apa yang Cici dengar dari clients that Cici kind of talk with, and also like from friends that kind of like getting into like sharing about their relationship experience, I think number one thing is that the fear, like there's very big about fear, whether feeling kamu takut untuk unlovable, kamu takut kamu not good enough in that relationship, atau kamu ada ketakutan that kamu is not getting the emotional attention dari the other partner. Then Cici juga notice maybe like there's unmet needs. For example, maybe some people are just like not meeting the ideals of maybe like sex, like they don't talk about it. There might be juga low self-esteem, and there's shame and guilt that play into factor. There's also some part of trauma. For example, if maybe one of the person have a history of like child abuse, or maybe they go to like near death experience that kind of impact them like when they're getting into a relationship, or maybe like they have previous experience that caused them like fear, kind of like from their, I guess, past relationship, that they've been in a toxic relationship and they continue being in a toxic relationship because of thinking that it's normal, you know.
Oke, the fourth question is, ada hal apa yang harus dipertimbangkan sebelum kita memulai satu hubungan atau relationship?
Okay, the first thing that you have to think about it is mutual. Getting in a relationship is not one way, it's two-way, that you both agree to be in a relationship. And kind of like communication again, it's play a big factor in relationship. A lot of relationship break because communication, they're not having enough communication. So that's very important. Also, address the commitment, being in a committed relationship, which is important as well.
Oke, jadi hal-hal yang harus dipertimbangkan sebelum mulai hubungan itu komunikasi, komitmen, dan lain sebagainya ya. Oke, pertanyaan selanjutnya, Valen.
Banyak anak-anak muda yang berusia 14-16 tahun yang buru-buru pacaran. Apakah tujuan penting bagi mereka untuk buru-buru mencari pacar?
Okay. Dari apa yang Cici kind of dengar from like teenager that kind of share about like what is it like their friendship like being in a SMP or SMA, which they talk a lot about relationship, pacaran, right? There's interest to like the opposite gender. I think there's similarities in what they kind of share. They might be like, again, like because of lingkungan yang friendship, they talk about getting in a relationship. They might be curious about what is a relationship and they want to try, or they feel lonely karena teman-temannya semua punya pacaran and talk about like pacaran tuh bagaimana. And mungkin ada jealousy, karena jealous teman-temannya pada punya pacar, makanya mereka pengen buru-buru pengen punya pacar, jadi nggak merasa nggak merasa sendiri in that sense, you know, the only one. Being the only one, it's a lot of fear around teenager that I guess I hear a lot. And there's also part of culture that is very big. Kind of, I know you guys all in Indonesia, right? So being in Indonesia is part of Eastern culture that is a little bit collective in that sense. And being in Western culture, that might be a little bit more, I guess, open to like relationship at the younger age, right? But I think we kind of share the same struggle in that context of being in middle school or high school, that kind of pressure from like friendship, I guess.
Oke, kita sekarang pindah ke topik yang membahas mengenai seks. Pertanyaan pertama, kenapa orang-orang melakukan hubungan seks dan apakah kami harus melakukan hubungan seks?
Okay. Kami itu help me to understand this question, okay? Kami in this context, who are these people?
It's more like humans because some of them chose not to have sex. So
Human.
So if I choose not to have sex, does it matter to me? Does it like cause changes to me in my physical body or my mental health? Something like that.
Okay, that's a lot general question, I guess, that it's a little bit harder to tackle, but let's try, okay? Sex is very normal and natural as a human being. I guess pertanyaan apakah kami harus berhubungan seks, I think that's the question that you should ask yourself, right? Whether you're ready for that. Different people have different readiness for that. And however, there's this, I guess, age play into factor into that. For example, if you want to have sex when you were in teenager, when you're age like 13 or 14, that might be different than when you are like 30 or like 25, right? So I guess how to answer about this, apakah kami harus berhubungan seks? That's the question that you should ask yourself. Where are you in this, I guess, in terms of age, of readiness, and kenapa orang melakukan hubungan seks? Again, it's very natural and normal, but depends on what age that you are at. For example, if you are in teenager, why they have sex. Again, maybe they're curious, they're interested about learning what is the opposite gender look like. They might be like looking for pleasure or a sense of different intimacy that they don't get from friendship. And maybe also juga kalau misalnya there's also like stress relieving. There's a lot of study how like sex is help with decreasing stress, and also like self-validation again for like teenager or like even young adults. Even adults are kind of like struggling with self-validation, and that's why they kind of using sex as like how like define who they are from sex. And also like I guess we can talk about how like some people engage in sex because maybe there is financial concern. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why they, I guess, why people engage in sex.
Oke, jadi sebenarnya beberapa orang nggak memilih seks atau apakah kita harus memilih apakah kita harus seks atau tidak, sebenarnya itu pilihan pribadi ya. Cuman tidak ada dampak negatif dalam tubuh atau psikis ya, Ci.
Okay, let's talk about dampak dalam tubuh, right? It might be different for a male and female, right? For a female, of course, there's a lot of changes that's going to go through your body in terms of you have sex, right? For example, I guess I'm thinking about if you have sex, unprotected sex without condom and stuff like that, then women would have a lot of changes if you get pregnant, and you're going to go through like a whole another hormone right from that. I think for guys, changes in their body, I guess the question is that kind of like during sex, or like is it kind of like the question is after that, you know? That's kind of like the question that we kind of have to like pinpoint. What are we talking about, you know?
We're talking about after sex, or the ones who chose to have sex and those who choose not to.
Okay, so yeah, I think from after sex, right? I guess they're feeling increasing hormone, like the happy hormone that we kind of talk about. Because like when male ejaculating, they kind of like go through like that high endorphin. And also like for women too, even after sex, they might reach to like orgasm or even feel like that happy hormone after that. Mm-hmm. Is that answering the question?
Yeah. Don't worry, it's still you're answering the question correctly. Kenneth?
Ya, jadi kita masuk ke pertanyaan kedua tentang topik seks. Tadi sesuai pertanyaan pertama, jawabannya kan kayak anak-anak muda ini ada yang penasaran atau eh, ingin tahu gitu. Tapi kenapa kalau kita di zaman sekarang ini dengar kayak kayak gitu tuh udah normal ya? Apa aja faktor faktor yang pendukung gitu ya buat kita menormalisasikan sorry sorry buat kita menormalisasikan free sex ini di zaman sekarang. Kasih.
Okay. Help me to understand the question. Free sex in this context, what do you guys mean by that? Is it kind of free sex in people engaging in sexual action, or is it free sex of having sex with everybody? That's
More like
two different questions.
it's more like people having sex out of marriage and they have sex with everybody, kind of that context.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess from what I understand from this question, I guess there is a huge factor is the increasing knowledge about acceptance about sex outside of like traditional kind of like female and male. There is also increasing knowledge about what is sexuality and gender in nowadays. There is also like different sexual needs that kind of like being addressed in like increasing the knowledge. Also like interest research in learning about what is pleasure. And I also noticed about like social medias that kind of play a big factor into like normalizing like sex.
Jadi kayak di anak-anak muda sekarang ini kan mungkin sorry sekarang kita lanjut ke pertanyaan nomor 4. Jadi kayak 10 nomor 3. Sorry. Jadi sesuai pertanyaan sebelumnya kan kita kayak anak-anak muda itu mungkin melakukan free sex, namun kayak apa ada kayak perubahannya nggak buat anak-anak muda yang udah melakukan hubungan seksual gitu, dampaknya?
Perubahan dampak. Okay. Buat anak-anak muda, what age are we talking about?
Let's talk about minors then.
Minors? Okay, under 18?
Yeah,
Okay.
underage people.
So under 18, again, in that context, you were living with your parents and you're still in school, right? So if you have sex, right, you have to think about whether you have sex properly first, whether it is safe, because at that age you're learning about how to I guess begin learning how to engage in sexual act. And there's, I guess, sharing of the opinion that the first sex was kind of painful and stuff like that. I think that might be like dampak perubahan. It kind of caused like fear to like engage in another sexual act. Or also untuk anak-anak muda itu kind of like getting pregnant because they have like unprotected sex and they get pregnant, and again you have to think about it, how are you gonna deal with it, with this fact, right? Because first, you're still a minor and you're still in school. For girls, you have to think more because you're still in school. You have to take care of kind of like being pregnant. You have to carry that child for like 9 months, right? And while you're in school, right? And whether that affects your studies. I think that's what I can think of for like anak-anak muda, for in terms of minors, how like that affect things. That also might affect your social life, right? Because you have to focus about the child that you're carrying, I guess, for girls. For guys, I guess depends whether their readiness to like take responsibilities in that. Again, it's being in a relationship, it's 2 ways and mutual. It's not one way. So I think perubahan in that sense, if you're taking more responsibility, even for, I guess, for men and women, they have responsibilities in that sense.
So for this question, we have two more questions to like connected question. So the first question is, do you think that underage sex could change like somebody's personality? And the second is, do you think that underage sex, but it's consensual and wait. For the second question, do you think that it's okay to have underage sex if it's consensual and also they use protection?
Okay, let's ask the question one by one. So what is the first question?
Do you think underage sex could change somebody's personality? Like that.
I wouldn't. Well, I guess not directly. Depend again what kind of cultural context that you are at, right? Being in a Eastern culture, I guess in Indonesia, now that we kind of have, I guess in this context that you guys are, a lot of them are in Indonesia, we have to think about kind of like, is it normal for like a lot of teenagers, I guess, being pregnant or engaging in sexual action? To understand that. Also, can you repeat the question again?
For the second or the first question?
Can you speak a little bit louder? It's kind of really difficult to hear.
Are you asking for the second question or the first question?
The first question.
Oh, do you think underage sex could change somebody's personality?
Okay. Again, it's not directly because I guess in Eastern culture, there's a lot of shame and guilt that play a big factor into that. That might be affecting personality. For example, if you are, for example, extrovert, that you're always being around people, but you're in a community, I guess you're in a community that is not very open about, I guess, being pregnant at the young age or having like sex at a young age, then that might kind of increase shame and guilt in yourself, right? And that kind of might be leading to like you don't want to share more to people or not engaging as much as you would usually do, kind of thing. I guess it's not directly. I guess it's different with people, and like, you know, they have different way how like they think about it and different situations that it's different.
So for the second question just now, do you think that we should do underage sex is fine if there's consent and they use protection?
So your question is that, is it okay to have sex if you had consent and you have protection and you have what, the last one?
No, there's only consent and protection. Yeah.
Oh, consent and protection. Okay. I think I guess in America, being under 18, you don't have legal consent to like consent, things like that, you know, even in paperwork. So I guess in that sense, being under 18, you technically, legally can't give consent, you know. And I guess if you still like for teenager that still want to explore more, I guess, about being sexually active, then I would just encourage to use protection, because that's very important. Again, you don't want to kind of affect your future opportunities, like for future studies or future career interests that you might miss out on.
Oke, jadi review dari nomor-nomor sebelumnya, faktor pendukung free sex dinormalisasikan karena adanya sosial media dan melakukan hubungan seks di usia muda dapat menyebabkan perubahan tuh juga tergantung pribadinya masing-masing ya, dia tinggal di mana dan tergantung budaya. Oke, lanjut next question. Apakah seks sebelum menikah harus dinormalisasikan di zaman sekarang?
Okay. I think this is a really big question. Apakah harus dinormalisasikan? Again, different culture, they have different perspectives. Being in an Eastern culture, that might be a little bit conservative, and being in a Western culture is kind of a little bit more open. However, what I noticed in both culture now, even like in the Eastern, Western culture, there are more, I guess, more teenager that is engaging in sexual action. And it's just, I noticed that this become normalized in that sense. But I think for Chichi, I'm kind of concerned about that. I don't really agree in kind of normalizing it, like it's okay for like teenager, because again, when we talk about the brain, it's still not developing, and this is like kind of like from age 11 to like 18, this is the pace that your brain is flexible to like learn about information, knowledge, right? And you don't want to like kind of I guess hinder that into like future opportunities and that. So I guess being mindful in that sense. And also, I guess, but however, it is important also to like talk about what is sex, like having this conversation even in your family or at school, to like understand what is sex, and kind of like what are the changes that you go through when you have sex, or like the effect that you're gonna have, so that I guess teenager in the future or now that they understand more, about like I guess the responsibility that they might have to take, or like the consequences that they might have to take, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question.
So the next question is, do you think that there is like a cause for raping to happen? Or is it just because that person who does the raping just lost control of themselves like that?
Okay. The question is, apa penyebab kind of sexual assault?
Yeah.
Or rape? Okay. There's a lot of reason to, I guess, for a person to, I guess, engaging in a sexual violence, right? They can have all the reason they want, right? Because everybody thinks differently, and they can have different reasons for that. However, there's kind of like similarities in that sense. Their desire to want control or gaining control in that sense. So it's not like hilang kendali in that sense, but they want to gain more control from out of that. From the studies that have like about like sexual assault, rape, abuse, I guess the perpetrator kind of like want to gain a sense of control in that sense. And there's also alcohol and drug that influence their decision to do that. That might be part of hilang kendali, because when you're using alcohol and drug, your brain and your body are not function as normal, because there's different, I don't know if you guys already study about that. So yeah, there's also a sense of victim blaming. That's the common reason as well. For example, a lot of perpetrators kind of like, oh, the other victim is wearing like, I guess, kind of flirting with me or things like that. They kind of just blaming other people, or like for I guess we kind of noticed like gender-based stereotype, how like in some culture man being aggressive and woman is being passive, therefore behaving in kind of like sexual violence, it's okay in that context. But again, it's not okay because it's very hurtful. So yeah, I think that's what I think, like apa yung faktor penyebab sexual assault or sexual violence. I don't know if that answers your question.
That answers it. It's fine. Very good answer.
Any other
Oke.
questions?
Udah.
Nah.
Oke. Ya. Thank you Ci untuk waktunya sama kesempatannya. Berarti ketemu lagi lain waktu. Thank you Ci.
Okay, bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank
Ci.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ci.
you.